Hello and welcome to my latest video. So this time we're going to be having a look at my book pickups for the month of February 2021. Now I didn't get masses of stuff this time round, but I did get some really nice pieces that I think you're going to enjoy looking at, including this rather nice first edition of Colonel's Son by Kingsley Amis, some nice early Star Trek books, and a couple of really great viewer donations, which I'm going to share with you today. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay then, so we'll get started with a few edge paperbacks. So I got 3 edge paperbacks. These are written by George Gilman. Well, that was the pen name. Terry Harcourt was his name. And these are sort of, these were published in the, originally in the 70s and early 1980s. This particular one actually is a first now from March 1979. And I've got a few of these because although the series ran for 61 releases, and I'm just missing number 60 now, so I'm almost there. I've gone back over my original copies and some of them are looking the worse for wear. Now I'm not overly fussed about having first editions, once again this is a first from April 78. I just would like a really nice condition set. So these are upgrades to the copies that I've already got, which are the ones I've got are sort of dogs really, I'm afraid to say. It is what it is. This is number 9 here. Once again, this is the first from 1973. So there they all are. Number 9, it's got a slightly faded spine, but I'm honestly not too worried about it. They're actually in really sharp condition, those. So I'm very pleased to have them as upgrades. And they don't need anything except I'm just going to give the covers a bit of a rub in a little while. This one's really nice. This is an American pyramid book, and it's the first in the Stainless Steel Rat series by Harry Harrison. Now, this is the original US printing by Pyramid Books. It was quite some time back, you know, this one. Yeah, first printing November 1961. And it says, portions of this book first appeared in Astounding Science Fiction, August 57, and Analog, April 1960. So that would have been, I guess, the true first appearance of Slippery Jim DeGriz, but this was the first sort of book in book form. And I was first introduced to the Stainless Steel Rat in the pages of 2000 AD, the British comic. Where he was, the first few books were adapted by Carlos, well, the art was by Carlos Escazera, who was one of my favourite 2000D artists at the time. Cover painting by John Schoenherr. So, let's see, there's a little corner cut there. But apart from that, there's no other internal markings for me to rub out. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a dust along the top. It's quite dusty along there. It's been on a shelf for a long time. Very pleased to get this one. This is Odd Job by Olaf Stapledon, and it's another one that was published in America by Beacon Books. There's their little logo on the side there. So it's Beacon number 236, but it's part of their Galaxy science fiction novels. And I think they did about 12, and I reckon I'm maybe too short now, so I'm almost there. And it was sort of putting, Beacon were notorious for their like sexy, sleazy sorts of publications, and they put that sexy, sleazy bent on these actual standard sci-fi stories. And they're a really nice series to get your hands on and put together, but quite difficult because they I believe they all had UK distribution, but trying to find them all in nice condition in the UK is quite tricky. But yeah, that's another nice little US paperback, so I'm pleased with that one. I don't have many of those this time round. I'm trying to get together a full set of Hemingway in vintage paperback as well. I already had quite a few of them, but since I've been doing my research, I've been finding more and more that perhaps I didn't have. So this is a penguin, and they use this bust of Hemingway in different photo montages. So I've been trying to pull some of those. I'm about 3 or 4 short now. This is one of his that I haven't actually read, but I found his life story and his writing really, really good. I've got into Hemingway quite a bit recently. I can definitely recommend the Michael Palin in the Footsteps of Hemingway 4-part documentary. That's very, very good. If you're in the UK, you can see it on BritBox. This is a later Penguin Hemingway book, but it's Hemingway by line. So it's 75 articles and dispatches. So it's basically essays, some by Hemingway and some about Hemingway. Yeah, so that's Hemingway by line. So looking forward to some of this. I think it's going to be quite interesting. Lots of like little letters and essays and articles about Hemingway throughout his life. And this was actually really tricky to find in first edition. It actually came out in 1970. So it was right on the cusp of my sort of period of collecting vintage penguins. But I bought it for the subject matter rather than as part of my sort of vintage penguin collection. And the last Hemingway, once again you'll notice the bust there, it's actually a play, The Fifth Column, which once again I've never read. So yeah, Hemingway's only play, The Fifth Column, was written under shellfire in a Madrid hotel in the heat of the Spanish Civil War. Brilliant, eh? So I am planning a Hemingway special, Hemingway and Penguin special coming up, 1966 that one, and look out for that one in a couple of months or so. I've got some really nice related memorabilia for that one. Next, Star Trek books. As you know, I'm trying to get all the original classic Star Trek books, and I have pretty on paper. I've finished it now. I've got all the original pocket books. There's just one book I've got as a reprint, but it's a signed reprint rather than signed by the author. It's like the second printing rather than it being the first. This one here, number 97 by Dayton Ward, is actually the very, very last book in the numbered original Star Trek series. So that started in 1980 and finished in 2002. So it's a 21-year history. And in that 21 years, they published 97 books in the numbered series, and I've now got them all. And I've been covering the Star Treks a lot on the channel recently. And I'm aiming to do one Star Trek video a month at the moment, where I go through the whole series in order. And I suppose really, while we're talking about Star Trek, that would be the perfect opportunity to mention the first of the viewer donations. So, as I said, I was getting very near the end of my Star Trek run, and I wanted, I put a little post up on the Star Trek Facebook group about some of the Star Trek books that I was still missing to finish my run. And thankfully, there was a respondent called Chris, and along with his daughter Juliet, who were watching my channel, and he had a swap box, and in that it had all his spare sort of Star Trek books, and he said, well, you know, let's see what you've got and I'll see what I can come up with. And he's very generously sent them all the way from America over to me in the UK here to help finish off my run, which is absolutely amazing. So first of all, then, we'll have a look at these. So they were really beautifully packed and wrapped. It was almost like Christmas Day. And I believe they were packed by his daughter Juliet. One thing he did send me, because I said, look, I'm going to give you a huge shout out on the next sort of pickups video. He sent me over some pictures of his own Star Trek collection, which is absolutely fantastic. And Juliet using the techniques with the toothbrush, so we'll get to that in a minute, but she has gone through Chris's collection and she started cleaning them up as well using the techniques that you see in these videos. So I was bowled away by that, which is absolutely fantastic. So she insisted that I have a couple of little freebies within these few books. So I've got a little Pokemon card here. It's Lytton, there you go. And a picture of Lytton. Now, what is the significance? Well, there they all are. There's 4 of them there. I don't know about Lytton, but I recognise Pikachu. I'll ask my son about that, Juliet. My daughter wanted to send you some gifts. Well, thank you very much, Juliet. And there's a little note here from Chris dear Jules, I hope you enjoy these books. My daughter wanted to wrap them in Christmas paper. I have unwrapped them, so we've picked an appropriate theme. They were in Star Wars wrapped paper, which is pretty cool. Juliet and I watch and love your videos. We watch them together while we sort my Star Trek book collection. We hope you and your family are healthy and safe during these crazy times. Live long and prosper. Your friends from across the pond, Chris and Juliet. How amazing is that? I mean, that is really, really nice, that. So yes, thank you, Chris. We are all well. And I'm so glad you and Juliet enjoy watching the videos, and that you've been using some of the techniques to clean your own collection, which, as you can see with these pictures, is phenomenal. So I was really pleased to get Star Trek 4 and 5. Now, these movie adaptations had massive print runs, but they had their own British editions, and all my Star Trek collection, bar maybe one or two of the larger format books, is in US first printing. So I wanted to get these in original pocket editions rather than the British runs, and these are the original first USA editions. So delighted to get Star Trek 4 and 5. Vulcan's Glory, this one here, number 44, cannot find it anywhere in the UK in first print. I've been looking for over a year and not been able to come up with a copy. So once again, particularly pleased to get that one, February 89. And then these two here were upgrades to my own copies. So my original second photo novel, because it's red, it's really susceptible to sun fading on the spine, and you see this one's got a nice bright red front cover and it's virtually unread, so I'm really, really pleased to get an upgrade to that one. And my copy of Spock Must Die was literally falling to bits. Now I know this isn't perfect, but believe me, it's twice as good as my own personal one. My spine's completely almost white, and the back cover's actually got a rip in it. So even though this isn't great, it's still miles better than my own, and it's still a first edition from February 1970, so 51 years ago that one came out, which is quite something, isn't it? So once again, Chris, I cannot thank you enough for those. They're really, really well appreciated. Chris has also now joined my my Patreon, so from all the future videos, he will be classed as a producer for helping the channel out, which is very good. Now, the last paperback today, as I said, I've not got masses of stuff, but it was an upgrade to Thunderball, which is one of the Inflamments. Thunderball had a huge print run. There we are, off the first printing, a bit like Spy Love Me. This one's got a little 40p in, so we're actually going to finally get to use my little polymer rubber here at last. So let's give this one a little bit of a rubbing out. There we are, didn't take much. And since that is the last paperback, it's time for my trusty toothbrush to get into action. So I'll just put these all together. So they are slightly different sizes. So those American ones are ever so slightly smaller. So we'll do these first then. Let's get these straight. Always amazed, or I am always amazed at quite how much dust and dirt gets brushed off the top of a book. It's just crazy. Yeah, so it's pretty cool to have a swaps box. I've got to admit, I've got about 6 boxes of books to get up, predominantly pans, and I like a box of miscellaneous stuff. But I do try and, rather than keep it as a swap box, I do just try and pop them up on eBay and use the funds in my PayPal account to buy new acquisitions. That's how I sort of do it. And that seems to work okay. Because then if the wife says, "Are you spending more money on books?" I say, "Nah, of course not." Now, ironically, I'm filming this video towards the end of February, because even though it's not going to go out till March, and that's because we're just about to start our kitchen is, well, we're getting a new kitchen installed, I should say, and it's meaning I won't be able to record videos so easily that I do at the moment, and that's fine. It is what it is. The work's been on the cards for about a year, so it's not like it's just come out of the blue. So what it's meant is I've had to really make the most of my days off work to get videos filmed and edited and uploaded to YouTube in advance. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to keep up 3 videos a week, but if I don't, I'll possibly intersperse that with a live stream or 2. And or, sadly, the actual amount of videos that I make might drop to 2 a week. But I'm hoping that won't happen because at the moment I'm well ahead of the game, which is great news. Just a little bit of dust on these. It's very nice, the stainless steel wrap one. I think there's about 15 books in the series in total. I've definitely not read them all. And as I said, the comic book adaptation of the stainless steel wraps were brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Right, so that's all them. Now, the next thing, yet another viewer donation. So look at this. So this came out of the vintage paperback group, and a chap there, Gerry, had posted a little montage of photographs of all like little promo things he picked up over the years in bookshops. There was some Stephen King stuff, which is amazing, and there was this Doctor Who booklet. So this was given as a little pamphlet to bookshops to give away, and you just literally picked up a copy of it, and it charted the first 6 releases in Pinnacle of the original Doctor Who books, which were being published in America at that time. Eventually they only did 10 books, and then they just imported the British editions. But it's really, really nice, and I'd never seen that before. So it's really, really interesting to have that copy. So thank you very much for that. I'm very, very pleased to have this. It's brilliant, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. So thank you very much, Gerry, for that. Yeah, it was very, very well received. Thank you. Right, so next bit is going to be quite interesting. So we're not going to do the polishing yet. We're just going to do the cleaning part. So in actual fact, it's a hardback. So I recently picked up what I thought at a very reasonable price was a new copy, a replacement copy of Colonel Sun. Now this is the one that I bought recently, okay, and this was the one that was in my collection. So it might be a little bit tricky to pick up on video, but there's a big ring around there where someone's put a coffee mug on it. Loads of spine wear, as you can see. It's awful, really chipped and damaged spine. There's a tear in it, and the actual book, it's all foxed. Now, I've actually had through my hands now 3 copies of this book. I picked up, let's take off the dust wrapper. I picked up, when I went to New Zealand in the early 90s, I picked up really, really top condition first editions of Colonel Sun and You Only Live Twice for like peanuts, just off the shelf in a second-hand bookshop. Back then, in New Zealand, the bookshops were predominantly full of hardbacks, 2/3 hardback and say 1/3 paperback. And these were just on the shelf for like, $1.50, which is like 50 pence each. So although I got a real soft spot for Colonel Sun, I really love the book. It was the first non-Fleming novel that got published, and it was said it's under the name Robert Markham, but that's a pseudonym for Kingsley Amis. And Kingsley Amis and Ian Fleming were close friends, and it was published with the full blessing of the Ian Fleming estate. But as you can see, this one's a real lower grade copy, but particularly the dust wrapper. If you look at it underneath there, you can sort of see the level of damage and fading in that. So it's not exactly great. Now, I've always wanted a better copy of it, and I've been on the lookout for one at a half decent price for quite a while. It's got this beautiful Salvador Dali-esque cover, but designed by Tom Adams. Now, he went on to do most of the Agatha Christie's for Fontana in the 1970s, and he's a really great and accomplished artist. Sadly, died just a couple of years ago, and fairly close to me. If I'd have got into him a few years ago, I would have tried to track him down because he's really close, and it would have been great to have spoken to him. But this is the replacement copy of Colonel Sum. It's miles better than the one that I've had in my collection for quite a while. I do collect Kingsley Amis, so I've gone right back to the first of Lucky Jim, up to about 1980 or so. So that copy of Colonel Sum was more part of my Kingsley Amis collection. It was more like a place filler more than anything. So that's a copy of the book, and then the actual dust wrapper, miles better than the one that I had beforehand. As you can see, it's a real beauty. Little bit of spine fading, but very, very little. There we are. The only thing is, it's come from the dealer, and it's in what I would say is probably a bit of an inferior dust wrapper. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take the book that I bought. You see, it has got a little bit of spine roll, but that'll sort itself out. I'm just going to put the toothbrush into the rails here. That's always the top of the spine. There is always where the dust accumulates. Not so bad on the bottom. Obviously the toothbrush has got a bit of dust in from the last few books that we've done. Now I'm going to be quite cheeky. I'm going to take off, this is the protective plastic wrapper that I put on my original copy of Colonel Sum. So we're going to take that one out, and then we get to see the original wrapper in all its gory detail. So we'll put that with the inferior one over there. And theoretically, I should be able to, well, I'll take out the new wrapper, which has got the book dealer's plastic on, and he's used a different sort of plastic. It's nowhere near as heavy as mine, and I don't know how long it's been on there, but it's certainly not in top shape. So what I'm going to do is cheekily replace that one with the one that I already had, and hopefully it's going to fit, hopefully, like a glove. Because in actual fact it's exactly the same dust wrapper, just a different example of it. So let's just see if it does fit in as well as we're hoping. So I've got it in position okay. It needs to be spot on for this to work. Yeah, I think we're just about there. There we are. How does that look to you? Pretty good? Yeah, I think we'll get by with that, don't you? And we'll just wrap our better copy around it. That is the theory, and that should give it, protect it rather, and it will also give it that, it will make it pop on the shelf, which is what we're hoping for. There we are. Look at that. Look at that. It's lovely, isn't it? Yeah. There we are. And my other one is going to go to the great online marketplace in the sky. Obviously, it's a lower grade copy, but someone will have it. You know, it's a first edition of Colonel Sum, but it'll probably only fetch about, you know, £20-30, if that. But still nice to have, isn't it? You know, so that's good news. So that's that done. Now this is another one that for some reason I used to have this one, and I've lost it. I don't know where it's got to. I used to quite enjoy it, and it's like a little extract from the works of Ian Fleming, but I particularly like it because of all the pans that are featured throughout. So someone obviously had a set of the pans, and they've just sort of used it in the way that they've laid the book out. It's really nice in actual fact. Little quotes from the book. I use, as I said, I use lots of the original pan jackets, which I think is really nice. And this particular book is dirt cheap. I think I paid like $1 or $2.99 for it, which wasn't bad at all, I didn't think. Published in 2000, this little anthology, and that was actually, it was $9.99 brand new, as it only cost me about $2.99. Apart from a little bit of dust on the top, it looks absolutely perfect for that money, so I can't complain there. So that is definitely the last James Bond entry for today. Okay. Okay, so the next book we've got, well, I've got 4 more left to do, and they're large format. So Chris over in the States, who we mentioned earlier, mentioned to me fairly recently, have you got a copy of this, which is Voyages of Imagination? And it's 40 years of Star Trek fiction by Jeff Ayres. And I said, I have got it, and I've been using it to research the videos I've been doing on all the different publishers who've published Star Trek over the years. So there's an entry for every single book of fiction that was published by the various publishers, so the Bantam ones, the Ballantine ones, and then obviously all the pocket books. It's an incredible tome. I picked up a copy secondhand off eBay. It cost me $6.99, which I didn't think was bad. You can still buy the book brand new from Amazon, and as you can see, it's enormous, absolutely enormous, huge tome. The original UK price was $14.99. Apparently there wasn't there was never a hardback of it, which is a shame because it's such a great reference book. It's the sort of book that's crying out for a hardback edition, but sadly it never happened. But yeah, if you've never come across that one, boy oh boy, what a book that is. This next one I got, once again, I used to have this one, and for some reason I couldn't find it. It's a Star Trek catalogue, and this is published in the 70s. And sadly, the copy that's arrived is a little bit damaged. There's a little tear there, but also it's been used, someone's used it as like a hard surface to write on. But it's quite nice. It's one of those really interesting early Star Trek books that I absolutely loved as a kid. And it's got the full episode guide. It's got some really interesting pictures as well. Early convention stills. It's actually a really interesting book, and a lot of people don't even know it exists because it wasn't published by Pocket or Ballantine or Bantam. It was one of the more Grosset and Dunlop. So yeah, nothing to do with the normal Star Trek publishers. So I'll give the top edge just a little quick dust off, but then all this is going to need is going to be a little polish, the same which we'll do in a minute with all the rest of the books. Now this one I was very pleased to get because I've been after one for ages at a decent price, and that's the original Star Trek Concordance. Now this is by B.J. Trimble. This originally was a 3-part, almost like privately printed look at Star Trek and all the different episodes and the characters that were featured within. And this was it, basically those privately printed, amateurish fanzine efforts put into a professional book. And this is the original of that, not the original printing. And it does come with like a little wheel, so you can look up, so like a mock time. So it's got a little abbreviation of a mock time. It's got the star date, what page in the book it's featured on, page 54. And you can sort of scroll this reel around to look up any particular episode. So The City on the Edge of Forever, one of my favourites, stardate 3134.0, page 50. Should we try it? So turn to page 50, and we should see the entry for, there we are, The City on the Edge of Forever, with the cast and a little synopsis of the story. Very interesting book, this one. And as I said, some of the writers have cited it as being the way that they were able to research episode adaptations and or elements of Star Trek when they were researching a particular novel. They use this as their guidebook. So back in its day, don't forget, this is before the internet where you could just jump on board and look something up. This was the way people found their information. It's fantastic. It's a bit old school by today's standards, but still good nonetheless. Brilliant, eh? So the Star Trek Concordance, definitely one to get your hands on. And this original first was published in October 1976, this one. All right. So once again, I'm just going to give it a dust off on the top edge. That's fine. And then I will just get the polish onto the corner there where there was a sticker removal mark. And the last book we've got today is one that I think is going to take quite a bit of cleaning, but it's in a similar vein, the original Starfleet Technical Manual. This was published by Ballantine. As you can see, it's got this like plasticky cover with a bit of cardboard underneath the cover there. So I want to keep that in place, but it's definitely going to come up quite well with a polish. Look at the spine. So I don't know if you can see it, but it's definitely dirty. So I'm going to run the old toothbrush into the grooves there, but it may be we're going to need to just get in there with the polish to try and clean that up. The top edge is also suffering from a little bit of foxing and dustiness. But once again, this was one of those sort of mid-70s publications that went on to be reprinted and reprinted and reprinted so many times. Now, you might want to try and track down the first edition. Here we are. The first printing of this comes with this letter from Starfleet Command. The letter's got a little crease in itself there. To Ballantine Books. And we live long and prosper. And this one also has a first printing of November 1975, which is what this one's from. And this is the original, the first ever Star Trek Technical Manual. Which I imagine if you were into Star Trek back then and starting to go to the conventions, you would have absolutely loved this. Great stuff, eh? Getting all your costumes organised and what have you. But condition-wise, it's this one, you know, beyond what we've just done, we're going to need to get the polish on that to sort of sort it out. So what we'll do then, we'll put these large format books to one side and I'll get the polish out and we'll go back to the start and we'll do the paperbacks first because they've all been dusted. There was only one that needed anything rubbing out and there was no glue required. So I think this month we've got off pretty lightly in actual fact. All we're going to need is the, actually there was some, wasn't there in Colonel Sun? Was there a bit of pencil in that needed erasing? Or am I just imagining it? No. There is. Let me just do that now while I think of it. It was just a little book dealer's inventory thing. So we get rid of that now, and then that was all the rubbing out that we needed to do. There we are. So in actual fact, Colonel Sun is not going to need anything, so we're going to... Those two are done and dusted. So we'll put them to one side over there. I think we'll do the paperbacks first of all. So if I just pull this first stack over here. Now, they shouldn't be too bad. But since I have a process, I'd just like to keep to it more than anything. So I've got my Mr. Sheen here, trusty Mr. Sheen. Furniture polish is really all it is. It's a multi-surface sort of cleaner. And I get this cloth, I've got a few like this, and they've just been through the wash so many times that they've just softened to, well, they're not abrasive in the slightest way. but I don't want to put polish straight on the cover, so I pop it onto the corner here and then I just dab it in just so it soaks it up. So I've got a nice little bit on there waiting to be applied to the actual book itself. Now you need to be careful with these because they've got the two bullet holes in the front cover there. I don't want to catch one of those and rip it. As I said, Thunderball and The Spy Love Me in paperback first had really big print runs, so that I think they're amongst the two easiest to find in pan edition. So I did really want nice copies, and that's what I've been doing over the last few months, is trying to upgrade my my James Bond collection into better editions. This is a huge upgrade, so once again, thanks to Chris for this. I am really delighted to get this one. It's my copy had been in a transporter accident and it was in hell of a state. There we are. And this was another one which I was glad to upgrade. I'm still after the American first printing of photo novel #1, City on the Edge of Forever. I've got one, but it's the British edition, which was published by Corgi. So I would really like, if anyone comes across one, the Bantam edition, that would be brilliant. This is really pleased to get this one. So this is that very last one by Dayton Ward. Now, Dayton Ward is active on the official, well, not the official, but the Star Trek fiction Facebook group. I've seen him contribute a couple of things. He even liked one of my posts, which was pretty cool. One of my videos on the early James Blish books, which I thought was, oh, thank you very much for that. So I look forward to reading that one. This was good to see as well. Vulcan's Glory. I really struggled to find a copy of this one. So very glad to fill this last hole in the numbered collection. I've got 2 more books to come. They're on their way, and I think it's books 94 and 95 were the last 2 I needed. Ironically, I would have sold them back in the day in my shop. But by then, they were considered modern Star Trek, so I was concentrating on the early stuff. I wasn't buying all the brand new stuff as it was coming out. And I think probably because there was so much of it coming out, you just couldn't keep on top of it. Whereas today, a lot of it's available secondhand, and you can pick books up quite cheaply. Certainly with the Star Treks, if you're not fussed about having first editions, you could pick up the pocket books for like $1 a piece or even less in a nice job lot. There we are. So that's that first lot. Just look how much dust and dirt's come off those. A lot of it is almost like invisible, isn't it? You just can't see it until you start cleaning it, and then it stands out a mile. But it's nice to just have them cleaned. Let's put them over there. That doesn't need anything. It's lovely. This one I'm going to be quite careful with because it's a much older paperback, 1961. So I don't want to go crazy and really push into it. I don't have masses of American US sci-fi, but what I've got I think is pretty nice. I have done a video looking through my American paperbacks, so if you haven't seen it, just look up miscellaneous US paperbacks on the channel and you'll get to see them. There are some pyramid ones in there for sure, but yeah, particularly scarce over here, probably quite common in America. You can pick this up for a few dollars, but I'll tell you what else I am after is the original June paperback in nice condition. It does seem notoriously tricky to find because it's such a big thick book. I'm having a job finding a nice copy of it. Very pleased to upgrade these though. My Edge Edge books. Never read The Edge. If you're into a Western, but you want not your typical Western, and they are pretty violent, I have to say, but also quite a lot of fun. Best read in a single or maybe two sittings, and just whiz through them. It's a good little series for sure, and definitely got a big following over here in the UK, and I believe they released the first 44 in America. They didn't release all 61 like over here. A few little black dots there, so I'm going to just put a tiny bit directly on the cover. Fingers crossed that's going to pick those bits up. Yeah, look at that, they're gone. Just like that, they're gone. Amazing, eh? Ah, Mr. Sheen, what did we do without you? I have to say, on a day off work, when I've got a nice little pile of new acquisitions and a bit of cleaning to do, it's very, very relaxing, you know? Makes your books look good. It's nice to have a chat with you guys. And if I do a live stream, and it's a book specific one, because I'm going to try and get some of these live streams up and running again, do please come in, and if you ask a question, I will absolutely do my best to answer it while we're on the air, as it were. Because as I said, with the kitchen work coming, I might need to jump in and just do some live streams, just to keep at least 3 videos a week going, which is, you know, sort of my minimum really. You may have noticed on the channel I've started doing a few more gaming videos. Don't be disparaged by that, it's just another part of what I cover on here. I always have done right since the start. The gaming videos, obviously, they appeal to quite a broad audience, so they get a lot of views, and they do help keep the channel funded, as it were, along with my excellent patrons. We've got 9 patrons now, which is amazing. I've only been doing Patreon for about a year, and it really does help out. The money you get from YouTube through advertising is not great, and a lot of advertisers are very much tightening their belts at the moment because of the pandemic, and various bits of the economy are in lockdown and recession. So it's not like companies are going out of their way to do loads of advertising. So any additional revenue you get through Patreon is really recommended and gratefully sort of received, you know. Okay, so just a few more to do. Now this one, I don't think there's any need to even run, no, that's fine. I don't need to run the duster over that one at all. This one I am going to, though, because there's probably quite a bit of invisible dirt on this one. I do regret, because I've been referring to it so much, it would have been nice if there was a hardback edition of this, but sadly it doesn't seem to be. What an amazing cover that is. Look, it's got all the covers swirling around into some sort of like black hole, being sucked into a black hole. Brilliant. But yeah, as a tool, which I'm using, as one of the things I use to reference my, or research my Star Trek videos, it's been absolutely invaluable. So yeah, as I definitely would recommend you tracking a copy of that down. And this one's just great for the fun side of it, and for me, quite a bit of nostalgia in this one, as I used to have it when I was a kid. One thing I am also putting a run together of, because I had most of them when I was a kid, were the original British Star Trek annuals. So these consisted mainly of gold key reprints from the gold key Star Trek comics, reprinted in British hardbacks. And they usually would have a puzzle and a crossword and sometimes a colouring in page, you know, the typical sort of British annual. So when I've got them all, and they went up to the Wrath of Khan, and then they did do one odd annual in 1991 for Star Trek The Next Generation. So what I'll do once I've got that set licked, because they started pretty early on in the 1967, 1968, so right back in the early years of Star Trek, which is why I like them. And they went all the way through, as I said, to the Wrath of Khan, and the motion picture had an annual. When I've got the lot, I will pull them together, and that once again is going to be a video in itself, looking at the British annuals. And if I can, I'll see if I can figure out where the gold key reprints came from in each one. So although that one was pretty lower grade, I'm quite happy to have it on the shelf for the time being. Now here's the Star Trek Concordance. Now once again, I need to be careful cleaning around the gaps where the cover has been printed so that the wheel works. So I'm being quite gentle on this one. But it was predominantly that corner there where you can see there's some sort of there was like a sticker, because this came from a British person who owned it originally. So I want to get that off, basically, that sticker removal mark. So what I'm going to do is just put a little blob directly onto my cloth here, a little spot, and I'm going to apply this directly to it, and I've lifted it off the page because it doesn't sit quite flush, so hopefully it's going to start eating into it. It is, but it's doing it quite slowly, so I need a bit more. Right, so I've been a bit more generous with the polish this time, and it's starting to shift it. Hopefully the camera's picking this up okay. I'll sort of zoom in a bit to get it right on this corner here. Yeah, the polish is slowly but surely melting the glue that was there. Okay. I think we're just about there. There we are. So if we have another last look, there we are. That's got that glue right off, which is what we wanted to do. All right, just have a quick look at the rest of it. So I think the spine was pretty much okay. And considering this was a softback, it's actually survived all those years pretty darn well. And then I'm just going to pop a little bit for the back cover. And then we've got that last one, which is the original Starfleet technical manual. Now I think that one's going to cause us a bit of, well, not a headache, but it's going to require a little bit more work to get that one really tip top. There we are. So that's the concordance, looking pretty darn groovy and sharp. And this is the last one, the technical manual. So the good news is it's got a plastic front, so we can pretty much spray straight on that. And we'll just see what effect this has on the original plastic front. So by the look of it, it would appear that a level of dust and dirt has got underneath this slip case, or slip cover rather. So I'm going to try delicately take it, see where it sort of lifts up there, and then there's a bit of cardboard underneath. So if I take this out, I'm going to see if I can get this top edge where it's particularly dirty sort of cleaned with my cloth. It's going to be difficult, to be honest, and I don't want to rip the plastic. Yeah, it's just inside there. if there's any way really to get it super clean. I think that's better than what it was, let's put it that way. And the top edge is much clearer than what it was. But there is dust and dirt all the way to the bottom. The actual card itself, you can see where over the course of 45 years dust and dirt has got into the top bit there. Now, because this is shiny, I think without putting any extra polish on, a lot of this is going to just come off. Yeah, you see that? It was just like a little level of dust and dirt, which has, in actual fact, it's just lifted straight off there. Look at that. It's just come up nice and sharp. I'll do the rest of the front cover as well, where the dirt has come in. So it's not going to be brilliant, but it's not going to be bad. Then of course we need to have a look at the back cover and that spine, which we know is particularly bad. So that's come up okay actually, but I'm not going to put it back in yet until we finish the rest of the book. I'll just do the back cover because that actually does, apart from that wear along the top there, it's not looking too bad at all. But that sorted that out immediately with a bit of polish. And the thing is, the back cover is not like glossy and flat, it's got this like textured feel to it, which is a bit unusual. Right, now we've got the spines, awful dirty spine. So I think what we'll do, I'm going to put a very, very generous blob of polish on here. I'm going to run it along the spine, and then potentially I'm going to use the toothbrush to get it into all those little grooves there, to hopefully get some of the dirt out of it. It may not be as bad as it looks, but I think it is still pretty bad. That does actually, it looks already, it's made quite a difference. So I'm pushing down quite firmly with my finger in the hope that it's getting into the grooves that are there. I'm just sort of running it along each groove now to try and get it in. I think that's actually going to be okay, you know. Well, to me it looks better already. Yeah, that looks much, much better. You can sort of see where it's been in the grooves there. It's pulled quite a lot of dirt out. So I'm just going to take a completely dry bit of cloth now and just sort of dry that off a bit. That's come up lovely. I'm really, really pleased with that actually. And then the last bit, of course, is to take our front cover and slide it back in. So it's still going to look a bit dirty at the top, but at least we've got it as best we know we've cleaned it as best we can, basically. Get it nice and straight. There we are. Brilliant. I'm really, really pleased with that. It's funny, you can just see now, there would have been a British sticker over that. You can just sort of see a little spot where a British sticker would have been. But there we go. That's it for this month. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that latest pickups video. If you have, don't forget to hit that like button. Do please consider subscribing for regular vintage paperback content, and I shall look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.